Hey guys, what's cracking? Godsman here, coming at you with the next custom card review. We're on to Dead Dreamers or Dread Dreamers cards, right? I gotta remember there's an R after the first E. This guy's been kind of a classic member of the subs, right? So I'm happy he managed to get these down in time because edited 2 hours ago. Then that's actually kind of crazy, not gonna lie. I wonder when this 2 hours ago were, but whatever it is, if assuming it was just 2 hours ago, he got that done. So let's get right into it. Faint Dreams Icarus. Life is such a strange beast. Grade 0 boost 6k power 5k shield. Okay, all the usual stuff. Oh, it's a brand gate. That's interesting. Bro here is a Dark State skew. I mean, heck, he even's got the tag for it. So seeing Brandgate, well, he might be branching out a bit. Puns. Anyway, it's just the usual starter effect. Going on to the grade 1, presumably the ride line, is Twinge of Intellect Icarus. We are not yet perfected, my friends. Well, you are just a grade 1. Auto. When this unit is rode upon by Plagued by Purpose Icarus, search your deck for up to one Bazaar set order and place it into your order zone. Then you may enthrall this card from your soul into your Bazaar. Well, that's bizarre. I gotta stop it. It also has a rear guard skill. Continues to the rear if this unit does not have Icarus in its card name. It gains critical +1. So, whoa, I guess this is an identity theft kind of playstyle. This card doesn't want to have its own name. Yeah, I already used this pun, but that's really bizarre. Plagued by Purpose Icarus. I will be the first to awaken life's true potential. Grade 2, intercept, 10k power, 5k shield. Okay. Auto when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding from Twinge of Intellect Icarus, which I'm surprised that this one doesn't have a similar skill like that, because a lot of Brandgate decks which search orders for the ride line usually have an on-play skill so that you aren't left vulnerable to the odds of damage checking the order that you need. That's generally a rule of thumb with them, but this one does run the risk of it, right? But I guess it's because it's pretty proactive what you're doing with the Bazaar here, so you're probably running multiple Bazaars, so you don't care as much, it appears. Although it only searches the deck, which is a little bit oof, because if you have a really bad mulligan going for you, not a lot of search targets there. Anyway, back to the grade 2. So when it's placed by riding from the grade 1, look at the top 3 cards of the deck. Choose one grade 2 or lower from among them and call it to the rear circle. Choose up to one of your rear guards. Cost bind an enthralled unit with Icarus and its card name from your order zone, which would be your grade 1 of the ride line. That unit gains all the continuous abilities of the card bound for this cost. At the end of the turn, place the card bound for this cost into the soul. Ah, fascinating. Okay, so the idea is that's why this continuous skill specifies if this unit does not have Icarus in its card name, because the idea is that you're giving a critical to a rear guard that isn't an Icarus, because you're not going to be running Icaruses on the rear guard, it seems, because these cards are mainly just for ride line. I mean, this is a deception right here. If you don't want to run this in your main deck whatsoever, because it's not ever going to have this effect. So that's interesting. I wonder what the thematic quality behind that is, right? The myth of Icarus was that he arrogantly flew too close to the sun, made of with makeshift wings, and so the adhesive that kept the wings together burned away, and he crash landed back into the earth below. This doesn't really scream that in any way, but I'm going to assume that there's something else about the myth of Icarus, or maybe a different kind of Icarus that I'm not really understanding here. I mean, did he have I think he had an explanation, right? So let me go ahead and check out the explanation again, because I forget. So I'd like to introduce new Cray Cross Epic Ride Line by the Vanguard Icarus. The idea behind Cross Epics, although such personality. Despite this, never really found one to main, so why not make one right? That's always cool. Icarus is a scientist intent on finding the next stages of life by combining units with the DNA of other creatures, as well as granting them cybernetic implants, all inside of his augmentation bazaars. So that must be what he's doing, right? He's taking the aspect of his Icarus ride line as grade 1, and he's slapping that, whether by genetic splicing or cybernetic enhancement, onto a different rear guard. That's interesting. All inside of his augmentation bazaars. His dual nation rear guard, Briel, because again, these are Cray Cross Epics, so think of the glitter units, is thematically a kind of janitor figure who cleans up after the mess he makes with all of his experiments. Well, that's a fun relationship. I made Icarus his full ride line as well as a unique Bazaar set order and his trusty right-hand man, Briel. I hope you like them. Edit. After creating these cards, I decided to take the liberty of using the magic of AI to make some actual cards for them. Might be easy to read their skills on Reddit. Oh crap, I actually Does he have this? Ooh, he does. Yo, are these are some cyberpunk looking dudes. Okay, cool. I'm glad I went back and read it, right? So, you've got your boy here. This is the grade 0 of the ride line. So let me go ahead and admire the art a little bit first. Boop. Okay, Faint Dream. So we've got a guy, he's a scientist, he's in a bit of a shady looking, he kind of reminds me of a Ripper Doc from Cyberpunk. I'm going to probably make that reference a few times here. And he also has a nice cybernetic hand, all cool stuff here. I know it's AI art, so we don't have to take it too candidly, but it seems that this Icarus in particular, he's popping up on all the different ones. So yeah, honestly, I'm fine with considering this guy Icarus. He seems cool enough. Oh, he also has like some neck augmentation there. He has some headphones that are actually wired into his brain. Dang. Okay, cool. So we're done reading the grade 2, right? So let's just go ahead and admire the art real quick. This time around, he actually be looking at you like he's breaking the fourth wall or something. It's like, yeah, that's right. I know I'm doing something illegal. You gonna stop me, Ka? Okay, now let's go over to the grade 3. It's working. Is this the same basic frame? This is like this. Oh, but he doesn't have the headphones in anymore, so he's like got like different equipment on. That's kind of fun. Anyway, enough fixating on the art. So, composer of Mortal Strands Icarus. That's a lovely name. That is a very flavorful name. So this is, he has the glitter here this time around. I don't think he had glitter on his previous iterations, right? I think only the grade 3 has glitter, right? Okay, so you're not gonna be able to have glitter synergy until you hit grade 3, which is not something that you typically see. Basically all the other glitter ride lines have glitter as an ability going up in the individual elements of the ride line from 0, 1, 2, 3, but you don't necessarily need that a lot of the time. It just helps maximize the synergy of particular glitter units. Anyway, so composer of Mortal Strands has 2 act skills, it appears. The first one is act on the Vanguard circle, cost bind an enthralled unit from your order zone, which I'm going to assume that your enthralling is something that you initiate on your own, but maybe the order zone also does it. I guess we're going to find out. Choose one of your rear guards and perform one of the followings. If you countercharge this turn, that unit gets all act effects of the card bound for this cost. If you soul charge this turn, that unit gets all continuous abilities of the card bound for this cost. If you energy charge other than by the effect of the crest this turn, which is a really good thing to know because otherwise that would just be automatic, that unit gets all the auto abilities of the card bound for this cost. So you have to bind an enthralled unit and you perform one of these based on what you do. What's interesting is because you're performing one of the following, you needed a way to get a resource. So the crest, the set order that you get must have a way of letting you energy, counter, or soul charge. And whichever one you choose to get means that you can also get the respective skills. That's kind of neat. One thing that's super clever about this, oh man, water break. Sorry, this Neil will pick me up. It's getting real hot here in Texas. So one thing I really like is that you have a color coordination, right? It's really easy to remember which is which because the blue scale for the blue charge, the red scale for the red charge, the green scale for the green charge. That's kind of nice. Okay, so I can dig it. It's really easy to remember, a heck of a lot easier than the music deck we looked a few sessions ago. Act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. Cost counterblast 1. Look at cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of bazaar orders in your order zone. Choose 2 cards from among them. Put one in the hand, enthrall the rest into your bazaar, and shuffle your deck. Okay, so since this is based on the number of bazaars, I guess what you would do is you would add one to the hand if you just had one bazaar in there, and then that's it. But otherwise, you enthrall with this act effect, and then from there, you probably use the skill of your bazaar, you get one of these charges, and then we're going to use this skill in order to give one of your rear guards an ability. So there's so much open-ended experimentation here, which is exactly what Icarus is all about. It's about science and experimentation. Okay, let's, I'm digging it. Okay, so he's got a glitter friend here, but before the glitter friend, I think it's prudent to segue into this. I could tell it's not in order because it doesn't have like intercept or the other abilities the unit would have. Okay, so Augmentation Bazaar. Would you like anything to drink? Okay, that seems a little scummy, like you're about to give someone, a substance. Anyway, out on the order zone, when you would draw a card, whoa, if you have a grade 3 or greater Icarus Vanguard, rest this card as the cost and enthrall a unit from your hand into your bazaar and perform one of the following instead. You either energy charge 1, soul charge 2, or no, you counter charge 1, soul charge 2, or energy charge 3. Interesting. That I like that. I like the 1, 2, 3 because it gives you the order of importance on your different resource acquisitions, right? Energy charge 3 is pretty valuable, but it's only about as valuable as what a counterblast would get you or what a couple soul would get you, right? So the one easy is 1, 2, 3 ABC, and your color matching. This is very easy to remember, but it's still also very conducive of the nature of resource economy in Vanguard, and you get a lot of ways to play with this, like whatever different kind of resources that you need at your disposal. I mean, this bazaar gives it to all of you. What's trippy about this is that technically you are negging 1 because it's whenever you would draw a card. So you would probably play some generic draw power here in order to use the augmentation bazaars more frequently. But in addition to that, I think it's also kind of interesting. What's interesting about this is because you're throwing a unit from the hand and you're preventing the draw, it's like a neg 2. But you're negging 2 for a resource, and then from there, your Icarus over here, your Icarus is going to be able to add any card to your hand off of the top search, and then you can put another, you can enthrall the rest into the bazaar. So from there, you don't need to use the bazaar's skill, but because you need to use one of these abilities, you're probably going to have to use the bazaar skill, unless continuous abilities are quite strong, because I can imagine if you play a generic soul charger like Mikani, then you can just play it that way. It's a very easy to use kind of strategy. So that's interesting. There's a lot of negging that goes into this, so you'll probably want some more card advantage. And let me check something about this. Yeah, both of these skills are once per turn, so you're not going to be able to proc this secondary skill to get more resources multiple times. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of support. Where is that? There's Briel. All right, cool. So caretaker of careless augmentation Briel, bro. He looks like he's what do they call him? Like fixer or something like that. There was a particular name for the dudes who would give you missions in Cyberpunk. He kind of reminds me of someone like that. Continues in the rear circle. If you have 2 or more bazaar set orders in your order zone, this unit gains 10,000 power boost and can intercept from the back row. Cool. Yeah, 20k booster that can also intercept. Perfectly valid, right? This one, interestingly enough, right, some glitter units tend to have a generic effect and then a glitter locked effect, but this generic effect requires set orders that are bazaar. So you aren't generic, especially because you need an Icarus Vanguard of grade 3 or greater in order to even get any effects off of this. So this guy really is just truly Icarus locked. He is Icarus's janitor, and he's not going to get hired anywhere else. He loves his job. Glitter with Icarus, of course. Auto from the deck. When this unit is revealed by the ability of your Vanguard, you cost enthrall up to 2 cards from dropping into your bazaar. Call this card to an open back row rear circle. Fascinating. Okay, now let me check one thing about this guy, right? So you look, choose 2, put 1 in the hand, and honestly, you this is a minor critique. You should probably have this skill reveal cards from the top of the deck. That way you would actually be able to proc the skill of Briol here, because it needs to be revealed by the ability of your Vanguard. I do recall that your grade 2 also had a skill like that, right? You bind, let's see, you bind, choose 1 of your rear guards at the end of the turn. Was this not the one that, like, peep top 3? Okay, so this one searched. Oh, set your energy to 6? I didn't even realize he did that. Oh, crap. That's a strong energy charge. So I can see why it's also waiting for the road upon. So setting your energy to 6 means that even if you're going first, you can get more energy. That's quite powerful. Anyway, so maybe I misremembered here. So you had the bind, choose 1 of your rears. Yeah, I thought there was a thing here where when rode upon, you would be able to reveal cards from the deck. Maybe it was not on that card there, and it was like here on the read-throughs, right? Yeah. Plague by Purpose had a skill where you look at the top 3 cards, right, and you call something. So with that, right, like that would also have to be reveal if you're trying to get even more synergy with Icarus. Although then yeah, because wait, hold on a second. This skill is when it's it's placed, but I guess it couldn't because it would need glitter. You would have to give it the glitter effect so that this glitter effect would actually proc at all. But assuming you did have the glitter effect, that's how you do it. Anyway, moving on. So auto in the back row rear circle, which is clearly where he belongs. At the end of the battle, this unit, at the end of the battle that your unit attacks, so any unit, could even be the Vanguard, you may stand this unit and move it to another open back row rear circle. If you moved, you may enthrall a card from your hand or drop into your bazaar. Then put this unit on the bottom of the deck and draw a card. Now, put this unit on the bottom of the deck is a cost, meaning that you don't have to do that. You can keep him as that really strong 20k booster, or you could just say I'd rather convert into a draw because this is kind of a resource intensive strategy. Yeah, you know what, this is a very good guy. I like this janitor unit that he's got going on here. It's nothing offensive, but it's a very strong booster that also gives you some pretty nice abilities to enthrall, so it's providing a lot of oil to your gimmick to get the gears turning more. And on top of that, you know, it's got some extra utility, right? It could emphasize the boosting, it could get you some card advantage, you can just keep it there on the field if you want to keep enthralling more and more and more. Not bad. Cool card. Moving on to some of the support units here. Let's see. This is grade 0, grade 3, grade 1, grade 2, Bazaar, Real. So we got 2 supporting units, it looks like. So this is a grade 2 rear. Oh, I do not like his getup. I do not like what that implies. This is Criminal Espionage Popo. Criminal is right. When this unit is enthralled, you Soul Blast 1 and enthrall the top card of your deck into your Bazaar. Call this card from the order zone to rear as rest. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, call this unit as stand instead, and until end of turn, it gets 5,000 power. Now, important to note here, for the most part, there's not going to be an ability to enthrall during the battle phase. You would have to draw mid-battle and then proc the ability of your card, right, of your set order Bazaar, rest it and enthrall this guy from the hand, and then he would be able to call himself. So technically you do have a multi-attack line, but it's somewhat piece specific, and it's not very offensive because you are still kind of like doing some negging stuff. But this guy helps with your resources, because this makes enthralling less resource intensive, and he'll probably be a pretty good attacker for you as well, because bear in mind our main grade 2 is usually a booster, so you still need some good attackers there. Not a bad start. Act on the rearguard circle once per turn. Cost bind an enthralled unit from your order zone. Choose a card from your bind zone and return it to your hand. So you bind and enthrall from the order zone and then choose a card. So effectively you get a free, I feel like this needed a cost personally. Like maybe Energy Blast 3 would be prudent, because I'm not seeing any big Energy Blast so far. Because if you could, all you have to do is bind anything from your order zone and then add that same thing, because it doesn't have any name restrictions. It doesn't say different card or whatever. So whatever you enthrall, you can just get back for free effectively. So add an Energy Blast and I think you're good to go. Good card overall though, I'd say. Now moving on to the final support unit, we've got Frantic, Augment, and Nira. So much cyberpunk, right? Icarus' cybernetics are the only way to excel in this world. Yeah, that also feels like the lore of cyberpunk, right? Everyone's getting all these augmentations and stuff, like Davey, you putting on your Sandevstan or whatever, you know, you gotta get your chrome, as they call it, in order to compete in the world. Anyway, auto on the rear or hand. When your Bazaar set order is played, or a Bazaar in your order zone, so what the heck? Rest. Oh, okay. So when your Bazaar set order is placed, or when it rests, you can cost to enthrall this unit into your Bazaar, and this is from the rear or hand, mind you. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 2 cards from among them and enthrall them into your Bazaar. Ooh, that's a hard neck to get more enthralls. I feel like you wouldn't want to use that skill unless you're really desperate, because you've got a lot of ways to enthrall anyway. But I guess as far as a panic button skill goes, you'll take what you can get, right? Auto. When this unit is put from order zone into bind during your turn, okay, so this combos with other stuff, you Energy Blast 3, draw a card. If you activate Persona right this turn, then once per turn, act abilities of your Vanguard Icarus may be activated 2 times per turn. Ooh, that's a fascinating effect. Okay. That, I do like this. Now, I do think that the cost for Energy Blast 3 is a little bit easy, but then again, you have to then keep in mind that what your dude is doing, you'll be able to give act rear guards, you'll be able to get the counter blast again. So I guess there's some costs going around here that isn't like too bad. Ooh. That's a really strong combo, but, you know, I don't particularly mind it. I think resources overall in this deck is very easy, though, so you might want to put a bigger cost on that, but as far as effects go, it's very fresh. I like that you're able to push him past his limits with his experimentation, because that kind of, like, feels correct, right? You know, as he's advancing in his cybernetics and stuff, and he's becoming more of a workhorse, he's able to go harder. That's nice. Overall, I think this is a fine set of cards. There's nothing I can really complain about here, right? It's got an interesting gimmick. I will say that giving abilities of a card enthrall to another unit is quite fascinating, because I think this card isn't limited on the whole Icarus bit, right? So you'll be able to splice the effects of other units from Brantgate, like let's say Combine Rusher, for instance, to give even more power. Maybe you can splice on, and this would be kind of a fun one if I'm thinking about it right. Maybe you can splice a Bulbamine auto skill onto Brielle so that it can go into the soul and countercharge for you. Like there's some things you can do. You can be quite the freaky guy when it comes to your different combinations there. So yeah, this leads a lot of room for experimentation, but nothing about it seems busted and exploitable. It's got a very solid base. And yeah, between that, the card balance, the flavor and stuff, I'd probably give this about like a 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that I would say is I would like to see a little bit more cards which actually like bequeath effects, like have interesting effects for you to use rather than outsourcing purely on the generic card pool. But even then, you know what, no, I should probably sway this to maybe like a 9.75. There's very few things this deck does wrong, aside from, I guess, the idea that you're using look effects instead of reveal effects, which would be something that you would need in order to actually make Brielle's first auto skill work whatsoever. Still, really good job, Judge Dreamer. You did super well there. All right, cool. So he already looked at all that. Few things to mention at the end. Another aspect of design philosophy I wanted to mention was in regards to the cost displayed by this deck. You may have noticed this deck doesn't have much in the way of traditional costs. Both costs require you to discard or pay a cost. While this may raise concern that the incredible resource generation toolbox this deck provides is therefore wasted, this was done intentionally to allow a lot of versatility when building the deck using existing support cards. By doing this, cards like the Bazaar set order can field the effects of whatever generic cards you're going to be splicing the effects of using Icarus rather than facilitating the resource loop of the main archetype. This does raise the concern of the deck may have a problem with card advantage, as a lot of costs involved in payment from the hand. However, this is something that could be interesting to resolve via unique and interesting effect combinations. I do actually really agree with you there, and yeah, like again, I noticed that too, that you're eating a lot of raw like advantage, but your resources are easy. So maybe what you can do is you could outsource to things like Combine Rusher again, which is a plus one if you're able to keep on paying that cost and a really strong attacker for you. I could see where you'd be able to splice the continuous critical skill of Icarus onto Combine Rusher so that he's an even more lethal rearguard attack. That would be fascinating. I also want to talk about Brielle quickly, as I found it difficult to thematically represent his janitor status in a way that still represented the deck's core ideals. I knew I wanted him to be able to draw to give the player the option of activating Bazaar. However, I knew that he shouldn't be an attacker, so I decided to make him the ultimate booster, which you kind of did, with the except, I guess, not having a resist effect, but I mean, we were already hitting gold with him. We don't need to push it, right? Him sending cards back to the drop as he moves around the field is also meant to represent him clearing up the messes that Icarus makes during the battle. Oh, okay, I get it, right? He's literally sweeping aside to another zone. Okay, cool. Once he's done with his work, he returns to the deck and gives a parting gift, which may be waiting to be called upon by Icarus in the future. Alternatively, of course, he can stick around and become intercept for use on your opponent's turn, because, you know, the Janitor does a lot of different kinds of cleanups. Another thing I found quite interesting about Brielle is that it leaves the opportunity for the player to build their deck around making it more defensive or more offensive. Since the abilities with Icarus gives remains indefinitely, it could indefinitely. I didn't even realize that, right? So that means that like that continuous effect that you're giving from Icarus, you could just they just keep it forever, right? Which I guess if a Combine Rusher, you wouldn't want to intercept with it then, because you could just give it the crit, there's a keep the crit effect or whatever. That's fascinating. Ooh, I kind of like that, not gonna lie. That does really give you a lot of investment opportunity where, yes, you will have to go through some hoops and hurdles to give effects to cards, but particularly with the case of cards that can't be like removed from the field easily, you could be creating one heck of a monster. You could be making the Atom Smasher of rear guards in due time. Okay. Since the abilities which Icarus gives remain indefinitely, it could definitely be an option to build the deck around giving Brielle abilities to gain shield value for when he intercepts on the opponent's turn, or just leave him there and he can just keep getting more abilities. Originally, I was going to make Brielle gain shield inherently, however, I thought that leaving it up to the opponent would be a cooler way to balance it per se. The final thing I wanted to mention was the ride lines. The intention here was to introduce the player into the ability splicing mechanic, where thematically, Icarus uses himself as the first test subject. Makes sense. This gives the deck a very powerful early rush, which reflects Icarus' mad scientist mantra. Yeah, this is reminiscent of Velstra, right? He was the mad CEO, and so he also had the early rush blitz-oriented style to it. This may be slightly too powerful as it is a consistent thing which can be pulled off. However, I think it is somewhat balanced by the deck's lack of multi-attack option. Unless there's a strange ability combination which I forget about, which is likely. Yeah, I already found what you're talking about, right? Which is the whole draw card thing with the bazaars, where you're able to get the particular guy that Soul Blast to call himself out. Now, of course, this won't be able to rush on grade 2 or less because you need a grade 3 or greater Icarus in order to have it actually be called a stand. So it's not an early rush, but if you're going first, you can still beat down a grade 2 opponent with this. Overall, I think the deck has the potential to be both extremely powerful and almost useless. That's very fair, right? This is very up in the air. Even I don't know what the results of this experimentation would be. The deck rewards thorough testing, and since curating your bazaars require quite a heavily resource investment, mostly for the hand, building the deck in such a way to reliably capitalize off of Icarus' shenanigans, as well as not go bankrupt in terms of card economy in the process, would be quite a feat. Thanks for reading, as always. Amazing. Honestly, you know, I'm going to overlook a couple of the issues here that I saw with the design and just give it the 10 out of 10 at this point, because I think your readings, like, it really hits home some of the strengths here. The design philosophy, as you mentioned, is really cool. You're really getting into the notion of the mad scientist, and the janitor is doing his janitorial work, and it's one of those ride lines that is only going to grow with, it's going to grow like fine wine, right? Or age like fine wine is the saying. Because as more generics come out, you'll be able to splice them. I do wonder if at some point down the line, it would get to a very dangerous point where you could make some really busted rearguard effect combinations. But I think because you have to put in more effort into it and those rearguards are fallible, it's not that big of an issue. By comparison, something like Steel Daimonis, which is that stride that got banned a while back, that thing was able to combine the effects of some of your rears, right, by putting them into the soul from the deck or whatever, and it would be a really busted combination, which is infallible because it is the Vanguard purely, which is searching them, tutoring them out, and being able to use their effects constantly, right? This is way more prone to failure in some ways, or just being lackluster, which I think is a fair trade-off for being able to have the potential for power. This would be one of those decks where I think some folks would swear by it. They would do nothing but play this deck for a while because it offers a way of approaching the Vanguard card pool that no other deck has ever done. So yeah, you know, for that core value there, I will give the 10 out of 10. You did really well, mate. Okay. Quick sippy, and then we're going to go on to the OK Diver 956. All right. What you got? Not sure if this is late. Not really, to be honest. But idea I had. Tried to base on gears and keep soul count to 12 or 13 to represent a clock. 13 could be meaning to hidden Huo. Okay. While I don't have art ideas for them, I always imagine this ride line support visual art being a mixture between Pale Moon, Spikes, DI, and Gears, which is really just all the dark states. Just to reflect on an OC I made for a story who is used to mixing clans in the early Vanguard. Okay, I'm trying to compensate, but yeah, there's some grammar issues with this one, so bear with me as I'm trying to read through it, right? Edit, re-edited the soul, modify units wording, not sure they're balanced or not. Well, I guess we're about to find that out. Steam River Draco Kid. Hey you, a journey awaits. Wakes up in the morning, it's this Chronodran, you know, Chrono's like trying to drink some coffee, and you just sees Chronodran on his like bed. He's like, hey you, it's time to save the world. Okay, and this is just a grade 0 nation, dark states. Okay, it's just a general star. So the grade 1 is Stellar Engineer Edison. Nice name. Grade 1, AK Power. When placed on Vanguard Circle, costs Soul Blast 1 Steam River Draco Kid. Okay, so you have to specifically play the starter because you need a cost for this effect. Search your deck for up to 1 Destiny Presence Dragon. Add it to your hand to shuffle your deck. And then auto when placed on rear, soul charge 1. Okay, which is fine because you're just playing dark states. There's a lot of cards that do that, so I can see where some people might just play this generically for that alone over stuff like Crimson Expeller, which is a soul charge on attack, as a grade 2. Well, I guess this is a grade 1, so really you wouldn't play this over Gungnam and Brainwash Roller, would you? Never mind. It's basically just for this deck that if you play more of it, you can put on a rare. Steam Raider Braum is a grade 2 ride line. When rode upon by a unit with Kaiden in its card name, which I guess this could be the name of our grade 3, you cost. Put a card with Destiny Presence Dragon from your hand into your soul, then soul charge 2. Then, if you soul charge 1 or more trigger units, draw a card. So if you soul charge 2 normal units, then it's just a soul charge 2 for the price of an egg. Otherwise, you'll be able to draw, which is a break even, off of this +1 that you got initially off of Edison. It's a little bit of an underpowered ride line, but I can understand if Destiny Presence Dragon being in your soul is super duper important, that gives you value, then you can go for a bit of a weaker ride line in order to establish a future more strong tactic. Okay. So let's go. Steam Fortune Winger Keaton. Yeah, this is definitely Gears based. I really dig this guy's names. It does sound like a Gears deck through and through. A lot of you guys have been really good with names, I've noticed. Either I'm really easy to please or you guys are just really talented at it. Twin Drive, Persona Ride, all that good stuff. Act of the Vanguard Circle. If you have 11 or more cards in your soul, so you're definitely going to be playing some soul chargers here. Discard a card from hand. Choose a card with the soul modify ability in your soul and write it as stand. And at the end of the turn, choose a Steam Fortune Winger Kitten from the soul or drop zone and write it as stand. AKA, you're probably going to ride whatever Destiny Presence Dragon is, because I sincerely doubt he doesn't have the soul modify ability. Auto on the Vanguard Circle once per turn. When this unit attacks or is attacked, which is interesting because if you're using this skill, you shouldn't be on Kitten for the attack, so it'd be more of the win attack, unless of course you have some sort of rewrite mid-battle because of your Destiny Dragon. When this unit attacks or is attacked, if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, you counterblast 1, this unit gets 15k until end of power. The fact that this is the once per turn definitely saves it. I do like that it's just a very basic way of giving yourself some extra shield. Kind of like how Boff Sagada did it, right? Boff Sagada would arm with Swayambu for a 10k shield once. Now, Swayambu did cost a counterblast initially in order to do that for 10k, so this might seem a little bit stronger. But not only do you need to fulfill a soul condition, but at the same time, let's also bear in mind that you could arm Swayambu for free with a lot of the different tutor cards of Boff Sagada. With this, you can't avoid this cost. So I think it is pretty relative, all things considered. And it's also cool that it's offensive or defensive, so he can be kind of a decent attacker, especially on Persona right there. So, okay, really cool card. I like what you're, I am picking up what you're putting down, sir. Destiny Presence Dragon. I was hoping to get to this guy. Grade 3 Twin Drive Icon Persona. Right. Okay, cool. So this is going to be a worthy Vanguard. Continuous on the Vanguard Circle. Soul Modify. During your turn, if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, this unit gains 10,000 power. Then you have 15 or more. All of your rear guards in the front row gains 10,000 power. Alright, so you need to hit 15 for a really, a pretty significant power up, but 10k to the front row, like, it's effectively like a Persona ride, which means that it's 20k to the front row if you do actually Persona ride with this dude, which I don't think is possible though, right? Unless let me read on first before I assume, right? I have a tendency to do that and it's bad. Soul Modify activates when ridden from the soul this turn. So in other words, it's a skill that can only be procced off a Kida naturally because you have to ride it while it's in the soul. Cool. I was hoping for this because now it really justifies why the ride line functions the way it does. Auto. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by a card ability with Kida in its card name, so you could just make this Soul Modify as well because it's more or less the same condition, cost Counterblast 1. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and put it on the bottom of the deck. If your soul has 12 or more cards, choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards instead. Okay, so this is a really big attacker that also bot decks your rear guard's Gear Chronicle style. That's kind of a strong ability. Now, of course, if you do it that way, then you are going to be missing out. I guess this guy should be the stronger attacker, so you wouldn't need to do this except for defensively. Using the Soul Modify ability, and it gets like a really big attack. I feel like I'm missing something here. What am I missing? Oh, right, you would never be able to Persona Ride normally. The only way you could ever Persona Ride is if you activated Persona Ride with Gradius Gradle, and then you activated the act skill of your Keaton in order to ride into this guy. Because otherwise, you only ride this dude during the main phase because he's going to swap back into Keaton. Well, okay, actually, no, I'm wrong. What you got to do is you've got to Persona Ride the Keaton, and then by Persona riding him, not soul riding him, by Persona riding him, you will have the effect, you'll go into the main phase, and then you ride this guy. Okay, so that's how you're supposed to do it, which means multiple copies of this guy, even though he has Persona ride icon, you're not really going to need to do it. Okay. Pretty cool card so far. I will say the payoff for this deck so far is, you know, it's okay. It's just a field vibe with some really big beatdowns, so it's nothing too bombastic, but it's got some nice basic Gear Chronicle elements going for it. Let's see. Spectre Karma Bringer Armoros. Is a grade 3, another grade 3. Ooh, you're going to be running quite a bit of these, man. This is a Gearoid, which could be worked with the Vilvi, I guess, if it isn't purely name locked. Anyway. Soul Transformation. This is another ability. Ooh, we're getting a little complicated now. Activate the Vanguard circle once per turn. Choose 2 of your rear guards and put in the soul. This unit gets drive +1 until end of turn. Then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher until end of turn, this unit attack if your opponent would call cards from Guardian Circle and just call 2 of them at the same time. So essentially, it's got a Battle Door, as long as they're grade 3 or higher. But you can also put 2 of your rear guards to get a drive, so it's a little bit more drive pressure. But it is technically a neg 1 overall. Soul Transformation, that's an interesting one. Continues to the Vanguard Circle during your turn. If this unit has 13 or more cards in your soul and is placed by a card ability with in its card name, this unit gets 15k power and critical +1. Soul Transfer. I guess Soul Transformation should be Soul Modified, right? Because you have to choose a card with a Soul Modify ability. So this is just a weird spelling thing. So this is another Soul Modify, which means it's a different form. As a Youthberg guy, I always do like that. Ooh, new comment. I guess I'll have to get to that later. This post is ever growing. I got to keep up with it. Let's see. What a card with Destiny Presence Dragon. This is Destiny Presence Dragon, and this isn't Destiny Presence Dragon. So your ride line it reminds me of the original Nirvana ride line, where it specifically got you original Vibrina rather than any kind of Vibrina. I mean, this one doesn't seem that strong, but I guess it's a cool start, and then it's up to you to put the other stuff in there. But that does mean that if you don't like this card, then you're not going to like this ride line, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I guess you don't really need this ride line, so you can go for a more of a soul building oriented ride line. Let's say Pony plus Amandine. That's like an extra 3 to soul or something like that. You can just go from there. So I guess it's easy just to do some basic Baron Agnes type stuff and do it that way. Okay. Fate of the Stars, Impulse Phoenix, grade 3, Gear Beast, auto on the Vanguard Circle, Soul Modify. We're back to the correct wording, to my understanding. When this unit attacks, if it was placed by the ability of Kita in its card name, choose one of your columns, put all regards to that column to soul. For every unit put, draw a card. So, unlike the drive, this is a break even. You're just putting 2 to draw 2, which is fantastic. I mean, just ask any Divines deck these days, which is doing that convert field to hand advantage. If you put 2 or more cards by this effect, you energy charge 3. Okay, so this is a basic resource card then. It's not very aggressive yet. Activate the Vanguard Circle once per turn. If you have 12 or more cards in this soul, cost Energy Blast 4. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards. That unit in this unit, choose one of your rear guards. That unit in this unit gets 10,000 power in a turn. All right, so you get a little, so you get a pretty decent power boost, and then you also get to energy charge back, which means that this is effectively only an Energy Blast 1, and then you're breaking even by converting. This is a pretty cool card. One thing I like about this card is this one doesn't have any restrictions on your opponent's grades, which means that it's unfortunate that the ride line doesn't let you search something like this, because this would have been a really, really, really good one to use going first, just to build yourself up until you go into something a little bit more aggressive like this guy, which has Battle Door, crit, drive, power, right? Like this right here seems like the gangbuster finishing unit so far. So that's cool. I do like his overall concept. It's another way to take the whole re-ride into different forms kind of shenanigans that we've seen a couple times before. The Cardians were probably the best iteration of that, and I still like Cardians better than this, but this isn't a bad attempt at it. I'm going to give these guys about a 9 out of 10. I think that it's not the most interesting iteration of it. The consistency of the soul requirements is kind of nice. I wish there was a little bit more of an emphasis on actually building your soul up there, and also more ways to actually establish these things, because it feels like it could be kind of a headache searching for particular versions of your soul modifies, right? And that would be a little bit unfortunate for the deck overall. Keenan support idea. Oh, okay. So he actually does have a couple more. So let me read this real quick. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I don't have a name for this. Beautiful name. Epic. Auto. When this unit's placed in rear, if your Vanguard is keyed in its card name or has the soul modify ability, makes sense. You counterblast 1, soul blast 1, search your deck or drop from up to 1 unit with the soul modify ability with a different card name to 1 in your soul. Put in your soul. If you search your deck, shuffle your deck. Never mind. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Continues on the rear Guardian Circle if you have 2 or more cards in your soul. And if you have a Vanguard keyed in his card name or the soul modify ability, this unit gets 5k power, 5k shield. Perfectly fine. Okay, cool. It is a little unfortunate that you're relying purely on a rear guard in order to do it, to make up for the sins of the ride line, but you know, I can forgive it because this rear guard is doing what you really need to do, right? You're counterblasting 1 and breaking even on soul in order to get a card into your soul that is very specific. This is screaming like Youthberg now, particularly the modern iteration of Youthberg, which utilizes cards to build up your evolve forms into the soul for the full blast. This one, it's more like building up your toolbox than building up your win condition per se, but still, it's equally as necessary. Steam Acrobatic Cersei. Okay, great. It's another grade 2 rare. Auto when placed on rear or put on Guardian Circle from hand if you have a Vanguard with keyed in its card name or the Soul Modify ability. So if for some reason, I guess for during your turn it's more Soul Modify ability usually, but if you happen to guard with it during the opponent's turn, then definitely key it in. You Energy Blast 3. You may Soul Charge 1 and choose a unit card that doesn't have a Sentinel ability from your Soul and call it your Rear Guard Circle. If this card was put on the Guardian Circle, called the Guardian Circle instead. Okay. It lets you, it gives you a Jester Dragon type skill, which a Jester Dragon was a Pale Moon G Guardian, where you're able to build the Soul and then you can call something from Soul to Rear in order to help defend you. This is cool Soul Boxing toolbox. I dig this. What I also dig about this is that even though it stops PGs, which it damn well better stop PGs, it doesn't stop really powerful triggers. So if you happen to low roll into a trigger, or dear heaven forbid, right, you've got the over trigger in there, you can actually use it in a meaningful capacity by putting it with Cersei here. And even if you don't use Cersei's skill, right, you can just call it from hand and Energy Blast 3 to call a unit to the Rear Guard Circle, which, to be fair, is a little bit powerful for me, but it is keyed in lock, so I'm willing to give this one a pass. And also, let me read this real quick. Let's see. Yeah, like this card does energy charge 3. I wish the Energy Blast was like more mandatorily put behind it too. That could be a little bit too easy, but I'm going to give it a pass for now. If this card was put on, let's see. So continuous on the Rear or Guardian Circle, if you have 13 more cards in Soul, and if your Vanguard is keyed in its card name or the Soul Modify ability, this unit gains 10,000 power and shield plus 5,000. I feel like you should tweak that down to 5,000 power as well, because it's already, it's more of a defensive tutor kind of card. You don't need it to also be a really grand beater. I mean, this guy's also going to get 5k power and 5k shield, so you don't need to surpass that aspect. You could just have like this mimic this for the most part. Heck, you can even make it the 12 or more condition as well, and it'll be more of the ubiquitous thing between these two support cards. Yeah, these support cards do actually help though. I'm actually going to give this a 9.5 out of 10 now, because it does solve one of the main problems I do have with it. I'm not going to give it the perfect 10 out of 10 because I don't think it's like, it doesn't have a wow factor to it. There's nothing super bombastic or insanely interesting to me. It's like you're taking the DI gimmick and throwing in some youth perks up with it, which is cool, mind you. But at the same time, it's not like something that's going to blow my brains out, maybe be like, pog, I need to play it right now. But it is still fundamentally pretty well designed, so 9.5 for you. All right, I'm coping for New Liberty, so I did it myself. Please let me get... dang. Okay. I can't check stuff I don't have access to, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so moving on from long time, I'm sorry, man. If you see this video, if you can give me access in time and repost it, I'll remember you, right? Like, you can put in, like, you can repost this with like an edit like down further, right? And make sure to repost it so I know to see it, because I'm not going to backtrack, right? Repost it with access given to me. Here, as a matter of fact, let me make it potentially easier for you by doing a request access. There we go. That'll make it easier so that now you'll be able to, give me access without needing to search me out on DMs or whatever. Anyway, moving on to OK Palpitation. Oh, this is a weird name. That feels like a randomly generated name. This is, okay, so we got a full archetype going on here. How far into it are we? 43 minutes. Okay, cool. And we're still recording just fine. All right, we're looking good. So let me, I'll just keep it like this. They seem to load easier when I do that. All right, so we've got a bunch of different cards here. 001. Okay, so the set code says that this precludes everything. Okay, cool. So this is indeed the start. Wow, look at that. Whoa, that's some art, bro. Holy crap. This looks like it came out from some seinen / shonen kind of anime, and I want to watch it today. Okay, grade 0, boost all the good stuff, and it's also just a starter skill. This is Armored Forcer of Fire. I wonder if there's going to be some sort of like high school DD kind of thing where it's like the gauntlet, because this could also, like imagine if it was like Issei's gauntlet, but it's actually this whole body and it goes boost or something like that. I did like that about that show. Okay, so where's Tutu? Over here. Ooh, okay, so This is actually, this actually might just be high school DD all over again. So Rika now has the boost gauntlet. Cool. Auto, when this unit is placed by riding from the specific starter, which I do like that you do that, because that starter, it's referencing the core gimmick, which is your armor. So it'd be kind of weird if you don't actually have to run your armor to use this armor strategy. Search your deck, Soul Blast 1. Search your deck for up to 1, the Firefish Dragonic Knuckle. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. Alright, cool. So just use Soul Blast for a +1 of a very specific card, which again, we've seen an effect like that on the Virina Ride line way ago. So in terms of balancing, this is a perfectly serviceable +1. I like it. And again, this screams you have a very particular setup card to get your whole gimmick started, so you gotta run all the associated gimmick parts so that it comes together. You can't just like outsource the generic crap so easily. You need at least the core base. Now, where's 003? There we go. Okay. Oh, thank the Lord. Okay, so he's going to get it. It doesn't have any icons there, so even though it's having a hard time loading up, I can tell that's not a unit card, and that's good. I appreciate it when we can read the accompanying order card before we go further on the ride line, so that we can have a point of reference for what's happening here. And yet, despite that, I didn't do that with the Icarus ride line. I know, shame on me, but, you know, I do my best, right? The Fire Fist Dragonic Knuckle. Play this if your soul does not have the Firefish Dragonic Knuckle, and you have a Vanguard Takumi in its card name. Okay, you say. Put this card into your soul as a start. So that's just automatically when you play this, you're going to put this card in your soul, which means you can only have one of this in your soul at all times. So either you're going to be able to remove it, meaning that you can reuse the Dragonic Knuckle, or once it's in there, it'll have more effects. Let's see which one he chose. Auto in the soul. Okay, I think I see what he chose. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop and put it as a burn gauge for your Vanguard. Ooh, put the chosen card on your Vanguard circle face down. Nice. Okay, so it's like putting equip or divine gauges, but for your Vanguard specifically, and it's whenever you're able to retire the opponent's rear guards. I also appreciate that it's only during their turn, so you're not going to get into some really weird shenanigans about retiring during their turn for like Denial Griffin plays, because I feel like Standard just fundamentally is not ready for those kind of cards. We really need those rear guards to attack, right? So, okay, so far so good. I'm digging it. I'm digging the ramp that he's putting down. Auto in the soul. When you activate an ability with retire in its card ability. Oh, that's the first time I've ever seen that, but technically this effect could probably work. If you paid the cost but did not retire your opponent's rear guard, choose a card from your drop, put it as a burn gauge for your Vanguard, then Energy Blast 3, draw a card or countercharge one. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so this is fascinating. What's so cool about this is one of the only cards I've seen which gives you consistent consolidation prizes, like constellary prizes, I think is what it's called, right? Where even if you don't get the retire, you still get something from this. You're still able to get a burn gauge. This screams Glendios. Glendios was another one where you bound a card from your drop zone, or maybe from your field, right? But mostly from your drop zone. You bound it face down, and then you would get the continuous power up, right? This would happen if you were unable to retire your opponent's rears, or even if you did retire the rears, then Glendios could still like do that, right? So the idea was, even if you couldn't wipe out some of their cards, they left you nothing to wipe out, you still had in the back burner, pun absolutely intended, the ramp process of getting more of those face down binds. This is also taking that into consideration, but the way that it's implemented seems a little bit less annoying right now, which I do dig. Now, the Energy Blast 3 skill is definitely a really powerful skill, because it's not once per turn. It's whenever you activate a retire, you'll be able then to also tack on an Energy Blast 3 to draw or countercharge one. What I like about this is that you pay the cost of whatever it is that you did, meaning that you're attacking on this cost in order to keep doing this. So I can't say, well, Energy Blast 3 to keep doing that is so easy, because you have to commit a card, a retire specific card with a cost associated with it, which is usually things like Counter Blast. And the idea is that if you're Energy Blasting 3 to counter charge, then you're refunding the counterblast of, say, a Meteor Flare or Dragon, because you didn't retire an opponent's rear guard. So being able to refund and get a gauge for the price of an Energy Blast as a modified cost is cool. Otherwise, Energy Blast 3 for like a draw continuously, I think that's fine. I think that's more fair than the dumb easy draws that you got off of Glendios anyway. Very, very cool card. This feels like Glendios done right so far. Where's 004? There it is. Wow, this is some harem looking thing right here. You know, I'm saying Rika gets all the chicks. Okay, grade 2. Auto. When this unit is placed by riding from the Boy of Fate Kiryu Takumi, alright, if your soul has the Fire Fist Dragonic Knuckle, which totally makes sense, it's a grade 1 order that you just play once you searched it, so everything is perfectly synergistic here. We're firing on all cylinders. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck. 7. Choose up to 1 card with retire in its card ability or armored force of fire in its name from among them. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you do not reveal a card, draw a card. Perfectly fine. You either get a free +1, or you'll be able to search out something that helps your retire gimmick, or something that's specific to your Vanguard, which I think your Vanguard is Armored Forcer of Fire, right? Like, let me go ahead and skip a little bit ahead, which I know is naughty. This is the grade 3, it looks like, based on the symbols on the side. Armored Forcer of Fire, Draconic. Okay, yeah, cool. So that would be able to add like your Persona Ride or whatever, which is perfectly fine off of just a top 7 like that. So yeah, honestly, perfect ride line skill. The timing is perfect. The lack of a cost is totally fine, because these days I think a ride line for plus like this is fine because you're kind of putting a gamble on it. Otherwise, it's just a random draw. Nothing to say here. If there was one complaint I would have, is that this is like a bit too anime for my tasting, but that's just, you just found some art. Like, actually, I could see where this is art that you did specifically, because the character looks kind of specific, and the consistent use of this character, like Rika looking guy, and how this looks, you might have actually done some actual art for it, in which case, you know what, yeah, fine, you can go ahead and get all the chicks if you want. It's kind of comical in the way. It's kind of funny. This looks like something you would see on an order card, particularly like in a Weiss deck, right? Which they do have something kind of like order cards, although they're called event cards, rather than a ride line. But hey, you know what, so be it. When you're on grade 2, you can kind of brag to your homies, right? Now let's go ahead and move on to the big kahuna, the grade 3 Vanguard, Armored Forcer of Fire, Draconic. He's a grade 3 with Twin Drive and Persona Ride, all the good stuff. Act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. If your soul has the Fire Fist Draconic Knuckle, nice. Counterblast 1. Choose a card from your drop and put it as a burn gauge for this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it. If you do not retire a card, you may draw a card. So you counterblast 1 to get a burn gauge, and then you either retire or draw. Now, if you paid the cost, right, for this retire, but you did not retire, in addition to the draw, you can then Energy Blast 3 to draw an additional card, or you may countercharge 1, which thus refunds this, which is perfect. It's just like what I said, right? Except this one is also going to get you a draw on top of that anyway, but that's because it's a once per turn act skill from your main Vanguard, right? So it's taking up space as one of your Vanguard's main actions, so that's fine. This is a good effect. I like how it's making full use of the knuckle without breaking its limitations. Auto on the Vanguard circle once per turn. When this unit attacks, you know, minor chemical thing, right? Forget about it. When this unit attacks, if all of your rear guards cannot attack, okay, so does he have like an order card or some other set order that I didn't check out yet? Because the knuckle never specified anything like that to my recollection. Okay, so for whatever reason, none of your rear guards will be able to attack. So it's just going to be the big Vanguard strike, which is kind of epic, not going to lie. So I'm digging it. Cost, discard any number of your burn gauges. This unit gets power plus 3,000 for each burn gauge discarded for this cost until end of turn. If you discarded 5 or more, that's a good condition, it gets auto on the Vanguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked. Cost, discard 2 cards from hand and Soul Blast 1, which I guess you would switch those, because usually in Vanguard formatting, it would be Soul Blast 1 and discard 2. Stand this unit, and if your soul has no copies of, or rather I should say, just to fix it for you, if your soul does not have a card with Armored Forcer Fire Draconic, and so in other words, you don't have another copy of this guy in your soul, this unit gets drive -1 until end of turn. Oh, which means that's clever, because if you have a way putting it in there, or you just naturally Persona Ride, then it's going to maintain the twin drive, so it's just a break even. So initially it's a -1, but then on Persona Ride it's a break even, and then from there on out it's going to maintain a break even, because one of the aspects of this deck is that you're building upon it, right? You're keeping your soul, and he kind of keeps his power as time goes on, which is nice, and you're also building even more subsequent power because you can discard any burn gauges. So even though you only need 5, which is a really good number because that gets you to a magic number of 15, so 28 attacker, 30 on a persona ride, you can burn more burn gauges. So it does give you a really nice basic incentive to keep using your gimmick, which I always like to see. I never like it when there's a lot of cards that dedicate themselves to building up a gimmick only for you to only need to use it sparingly, because then it's like, well, then what was all the effort for? I want to go big or go home, right? And this definitely does that, going really hard with your Vanguard swing. So it's only going to be 2 swings, but it could be a pretty hefty attacker, especially because this is a win attack for the power up until end of turn. So both of your attacks are going to be able to maintain this. And this is a once per turn skill, so you can't regain this once per turn skill, so it's only ever going to be 2 attacks. So in terms of balancing, he's flawless, right? Yeah. I really like this card. Okay, I'm into this now, man. Where's 06? There's 06. Okay. What do we got going on next? Draconic Reinforcement. Eternal Flame. This is a grade 3 normal order. Play this if your soul has the Fire Fist Draconic Knuckle. It's also kind of nice that it's the Draconic Knuckle that it's checking for rather than the Vanguard itself, because it goes to show that a lot of his abilities are, the source of it is the Gauntlet, right? So it feels flavorfully intact. You counterblast 1 as the cost. Choose a card from your drop, put it as a burn gauge for your Vanguard. Choose one of your opponent's rear cards, retire, and if you do not retire, you may draw a card. So again, like with the other one, you get to retire, right? And then if you do nail your retire, you get an additional burn gauge from the Gauntlet. If you don't nail where you're retired, then you have the option to Energy Blast 3 to make it a draw 2, which this draw 1 is making up for the fact that an order is an inherent -1. So by getting an extra Energy Blast 3 for an extra draw or making this free, it's all above board. It's perfect card balancing with your resource economy. Absolutely phenomenal right now. This guy knows what he's doing. Okay, 07. What's up, Buddy Fight? I thought they canceled you. Holy crap, that art is amazing. Okay, continuous. This card is also regarded as Rowan Dragus Spear. This definitely sounds like a freaking Buddy Fight card. Although, funnily enough, Rowan is the name of the Dragoncraft leader in Shadowverse, so maybe there's a reference there. What is his actual name right now? Fire Heavenly Dragon Drake. Okay, Drake, or should I say Greg? I want to call him Greg or Craig or something, you know, something way less bombastic, but I'm pretty sure he would, like, send me to the 9th dimension with his cosmic looking ass. Okay, so auto, when this unit is placed on rear circle, if you have the fist in your soul, you can soul blast 2. All right, I'm glad to see some soul blasts here. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards to retire it. This unit gets power equal to the power of the retired unit by this ability until end of turn. And if your opponent's rear guard is retired 3 or more times this turn, countercharge 1. So you can, if you can get another countercharge, right, which is actually a relatively easy countercharge, but it's only if your opponent left itself open to getting retired 3 or more times, which means when your opponent is knowledgeable of a card like this, there's player agency on how much they want to feed into your gimmick, right? And I like that player agency. So you could Soul Blast 2, and then if you are able to Energy Blast 3 on top of that, you'll get your countercharge. Otherwise, it's a Soul Blast 2 and Energy Blast 3 in order to get a draw, and then you'll need to retire some more. So I guess the best outcome for this is you retire with this skill, right? You get some power, and you also get a burn gauge off the Gauntlet. That is your ideal, which means that if you have the ability to retire some stuff, you'll probably want to start by calling this guy down because you get a lot of value from it. Unless, of course, you don't want to pay the Soul Blast 2 cost, which in general means that you won't be using this effect. So let's move on to the other effect. Auto in the rear. Once per turn, okay. When this unit attacks, if your soul has the Fire Fist Draconic Knuckle, this unit gets 3k power until end of that battle for each of your opponent's open rear circle, which means it could be a total of 15 if you did your job, Eugene style, and wiped out their fields. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and your opponent has no rear guards, you can counterblast 1 and this unit gets critical until end of turn. So yeah, again, right, like this gives you more reason to keep using your counterblast and countercharging. It means that your most important resource is going to be your counterblast, with your energy serving as a sort of a freebie kind of thing, but you can only tap in your freebie so much because you don't have any energy charge right now. You're just going to be using whatever energy you get from the energy crest this turn, which that's fine. Yeah, really cool card. This is going to be your main rear guard attacker. It's going to be a really big attacker, 28, which can get bigger if you do nail the first auto skill, and then it can get a critical for an additional cost. It's all above board. I really like it. And also, again, that art, super pog. Oh, and I noticed it was made triple rarity, which makes sense because he is like kind of a goated rear guard there. You would definitely play him. Ooh, that one almost singed my eyes off, dude. Grade 1 rear guard. Wow. That, go ahead, Takumi. Oh, okay, it's a dragon face. I was like, what am I looking at? Like a phoenix who's already flown away in the corner or something? That was hard to process, but it's a really cool art now that I know what's actually going on in it. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear, if your soul has the gauntlet in it, you counterblast 1. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Draconic Reinforcement or Armored Forcer of Fire in its name. Put in your hand and shuffle the deck. If not, reveal a card, countercharge 1. Yep, just like you would see from one of the searchers in Draconic Overlord. I think it was Burning Horn Dragon. That one was the one that counterblasted 1. You peep top 7 for one of your overlords. If you did not hit something, you just countercharge, meaning that you really did nothing with the skill, which is perfectly fine because you shouldn't be penalized for not adding anything, especially not a counterblast. So yep, perfectly good skill. And I also like that you're able to add Draconic Reinforcement because Draconic Reinforcement is a pretty it's a pretty strong card, all things considered. Not terribly strong, but it's one that you'll want to have at your side, right, if you need it. Out on the rear, when your Vanguard attacks, if your I like how this one actually does have the S for pluralization and it attacks. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater with Armored Force of Fire in its card name, and your soul has the gauntlet, you cost retire this unit. Choose one of your Vanguards and gets 2k until end of turn, and you may draw a card. Fascinating. So this effect, being able to give 2k, it means that under the ideal circumstances, you're going to be looking at a oh, I guess I kind of get it, right? So the 2k is at first I was like, well, I was thinking, well, it's going to get plus 15, right? And then this 2k isn't going to push it to another threshold. So it's just really just a meaningless power boost that is also a retire to draw, which is, it's fine. It's when your Vanguard attacks. You'll probably want to attack with only your Vanguard. So you just call it down, potentially get a search, and then convert it for a break even, right? But what I like about this plus 2k is we have to keep in mind, you can burn any number of gauges with this. So let's say that instead of 5, which is plus 15, you burned 6 gauges, which is plus 18. Then what you do is with this 2k, it's plus 20, 33k. A very good number to swing with twice, and it will be twice because it says until end of turn as well. 10 out of 10 card. And I think that's all he gave you, right? Yep. 10 out of 10 right line. Absolutely no flaws aside from the occasional like reading error, right? The one thing I guess I will say about this in retrospect is that this effect this effect was worded a little bit wrong. I think it means to say that this guy can prevent your rear guards from attacking, and in exchange it's just going to be the Vanguard. So he's the one who's doing the rear guard attacking prevention, it looks like, rather than like the gauntlet or whatever, right? And that's perfectly fine. They're one of copy of Gauntlet, which is good because that means you can't stack it. You're going to be able to get various benefits, and he's kind of like the typical shonen hero, right? You know, he's getting all of his ladies, right? You know, his waifu. But the point of it is that he's going to defend all of his loved ones. He's going to do it by himself because they tend to do that, being the protagonists that they are. Whether it's foolhardy or brave, you know, they're probably both, and that's why we love him, right? So he's totally like that. So yeah, perfect design, more or less. The theming is totally accurate, very anime in a positive way, and I think it's like there's nothing about this theming that I wouldn't change. I mean, I think even in retrospect, I've lined up on the art. And speaking of the art, I think the art is really awesome. One of the things I've noticed about some of these AI arts is, yeah, we get to like watch these things, but then like the art sometimes looks very random. I mean, look at like the convicts, right? Like the convicts, like anything is a convict in that archetype, right? But a lot of this actually does look appropriate, right? It's the dude wearing basically the same Guyver-esque, Kamen Rider-esque looking suit in a bunch of these different artworks, which also does look like the Gauntlet here, which also he does get the dragon looking dude here, which seems appropriate, right? All in all, 10 out of 10. Amazing work here, dude. I love what you did here. I would love to play something like this. Okay, now what are we looking at for time? We're looking at just over an hour. Let me check something here, fellas, because I do have somewhere to be pretty soon. Am I being summoned as it is? Because if not, then we got time for one more. Okay, I haven't been summoned yet, so let me go ahead and check out one more. Let me see how much of this guy. Uno Indo. Kagero custom cards because God is me, Kagero horrible. Anyway, all these cards have the base V series stats. I just got tired. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be able to assume that. How many more? I mean, it stops after this, right? Okay. It's just some other guy. I won't be able to read all this. Okay, so he's just got a lot of different basic Kagro stuff, looks like. Okay, cool. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to... Okay, so how much... It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not a 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You already did 12 with this alone, right? So, okay, I'm going to do this here. And let me see, is there something smaller here next time? Oh, there is something smaller. Okay, here's my deal. I'm going to start with you next time around due to a lack of time. And I'm going to do your first half, Mr. ON9277. So we'll start with you next time. But for now, I'm going to, just to be a little bit more perfect about it, I'm going to do the Glendios support here from Open Ass 7246. I guess it's kind of fitting that we end with Glendios because he's sort of like the ender of worlds, right? So, okay, let's go ahead and get on with him. 4 days ago, wow, I actually am getting down to, yeah, I looked at the cursor here. We're near the end here. We might only have a couple more episodes on our hands the way things are going, but I haven't refreshed this in a minute, so... Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, what would I fret for? If you guys did give me more, then that's fine. That's more content. Everyone loves this. I love it. So yeah, the more the merrier. First time making Cardfight Vanguard custom cards, so there will be some mistakes with these custom cards. Hope you all enjoy. All right, bro. Let's see what you did for your premium support. Death Star Vader Omega in the Glendios. It's a grade 4 15k triple drive, so this is a stride unit. Continues on the Vanguard circle. This unit gets all the abilities of your hard cards like Glendios in its card name. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. That means you'll be able to use the lock stuff, the Omega lock, the win condition. This is nice because this means that your hard card completely matters. It's good. I mean, a lot of Omega Glendios' stuff like has to do with like during the main phase onward kind of stuff. So he never had like any synergy with strides outside of the strides enabling the Omega end, and then the Omega end would like proc on your following turn. So this is having it all perfectly good. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When this unit is placed on Vanguard circle, and by the way, since we are going to be looking at this in the premium context, I'm going to be using the V series Glendios for the sake of this. So all V series Glendios' effects are effects that this thing is going to do. So your reverse units are going to be 18k bases. You'll be able to proc an Omega lock with a Soul Blast. When you call a reverse, you'll be able to lock one of their units that's not an Excel. Gotcha. Okay. When it's placed on the Vanguard circle, cost: turn a card from your G zone face up. Search your deck or drop for up to 2 cards with a reverse in a card name. Reveal an add to the hand and shuffle your deck. Yeah, considering this is premium we're talking about, being able to flip and get a +2 is unironically good for this format, but not too good. And we're also adding reverses, which if you do have, I believe it's Rubidium is the name, right? Which Rubidium gives you an extra 10k shield to all of your reverses, which since they're all grade 3s means that they're only going to be at 10k shield, and they'll also be able to have the ability to intercept with that. So that means that you're adding 2 10k shields off of it, but even if not, they're fodder. They need to be there to be your attackers as your 18k beaters, and is also what initiates your Glendios locking when you call a rear guard with reverse in its card name. Now, act on the Vanguard circle, cost counterblast 1, and retire rear guard with reverse in its card name. I do like that cost. Draw 2 cards. Choose one of your opponent's open rear circle. Your opponent puts a card from their hand to that rear circle as a lock card. Then, if your opponent has 2 or more lock cards, countercharge 1, soul charge 1. Oh, wow. Okay, so effectively, then you let's say that they do have 2 or more locks, which should be really easy to accomplish, right? It's effectively retire reverse in order to draw 2. Force them to lock 1 and soul charge 1. This is cool. Again, for effing premium, this is perfect. This is something that will really solve one of Glendios' issues, which you need to find a way to have your opponent commit cards to the field as locked cards, right? And having a Stride that lets you do all of your regular Glendios stuff is the perfect way to do it, because you can then proc the Omega lock, which not all of your Strides and Link Joker do, and you really do need that Omega lock to keep ramping up locks in the field. So this will let you have your cake and eat it too. Furthermore, the kind of costs and rewards that you get here is very pertinent to what Glendios needs. Glendios needs draw power because you need to have the raw tankiness to survive to achieve your end game, which is either V locking if you're being pragmatic, or the world end if you're trying to go for the stars, right? Retiring a rear guard reverse is cool because you can then bind it from the drop zone of Soul Blast in order to get your Omega lock going, which by the way, that Soul Blast is paid for by this Soul Charge, and this counter charge will help pay for your counter blast, which is good because you need a counter blast for the effect of some really important rear guards like Magnet Hollow to get yourself a reverse from deck to hand, or the effect of Zirconium, which Zirconium is another way of you getting them to lock cards on an open rear circle. So yeah, very powerful skill, which addresses literally everything. This is this is almost purely the perfect stride you could have given Glendios. Like 11 out of 10. I freaking love this card. I wish this had like the you know what, maybe I will, like, because I'm not seeing a lot of like art here. I might very well just say F it. Let me make a custom card with this Glendios text and just put it on the thumbnail at this point, because, you know, that's cool. But, you know, then again, maybe I won't, because the previous thumbnail behind this episode was like, they already had some reverse-based stuff, so I don't know if I want to revisit it. Whatever. That's like content creator crap that I don't need to concern you guys with, right? Chaos in the Dark Universe Hollow. Okay, so this is like a retrained Magnet Hollow. So this is a G Guardian, 15k shield. Okay. Auto. When this unit is put on Guardian Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Glendios in its card name, Counterblast 1, this is another important Counterblast potentially. Choose up to 1 reverse unit in your bind zone, add it to the hand. Then, if your opponent has a locked card, choose one of your rear circles and retire it, draw a card, and countercharge 1. Okay, so when it says retire it, I assume it means like choose one of your rear guards to retire it. So that's a break even that also countercharges 1, which is tied in with Counter Blast, but it only packs if your opponent has a lock card, which in most cases they should have a lock card. So overall, what this card seems to be doing is it's giving you a convert from field to hand, and also reverse unit to the hand, which means you can continue doing your Glendios gimmick. So it's more of a maintenance G-Guard than it is a defensive G-Guard. Technically, if you do have Rubidium out there, then it did add back a 10k shield, but it's mostly for maintenance. So I think this is fine because, yeah, you look at this and says, well, yeah, it's giving you a lot of like easy resources. Well, and I say, well, yes, it is, but let's also ponder that this doesn't get any shield whatsoever. It is literally just a 15k shield, which is the same as a regular 15k trigger unit in Vanguard right now, right? So for premium, this only being a 50k shield, you're having to use one of your G Guardians in order to do this effect. It has to be something beneficial in a different way if it's not going to be a strong shielder. I'm a little disappointed that it isn't a strong shielder because admittedly there isn't a lot of very good defensive cards for Link Joker. Ironically, their G guards aren't the strongest when it comes to actually protecting your life. They do a lot of utilitarian kind of stuff with your locks, right? They're kind of more I guess they're more about technical kind of stuff than raw shields. So yeah, I will say that in terms of design, yeah, he knocks it out of the park again. This is perfectly fine. I could totally see Bushy doing something like this. Ultimate Star Vader Omega Glendios Singularity. This is a grade 4 stride with 15k. Whoa, okay. This unit cannot be normal stride. What the frick? Holy crap. That is that's like freaking Freischütz Maximum saying continuous, you cannot play this card. No, I'm not joking. It literally says that word for word. Act in the G zone. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Glendios in its card name, and you have 4 or more face up different cards with Glendios in its card name in your G zone, you've got to build up for this. So in other words, unless there's some sort of flip I'm not thinking about here, you'll have to go through 2 whole turns of another Glendios stride specifically, and then on, like, say your turn 5, you'll be able to proc this guy. Okay, so we're building up for this, which for premiums, being able to go all the way to turn 5, this has got to be big, right? Cost: discard a card from hand and bind all cards in your G zone except this card. Strike this card from your G zone face down. Then if you have 4 or less damage, deal 1 damage. Then for each card in your damage zone, your opponent chooses a card from their damage zone and puts it to their rear circle as a lock card. Those lock cards and their rear circles cannot be affected and unlocked by your opponent until the next end phase. Ooh, 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 ooh. Spicy, yo. Okay. This is really effing cool, because it feels like it's the next step of the anime moment, right? So in the anime, right, Reverse Takuto was the one who utilized Glendios, right? And his good half, regular Takuto, we'll call him for lack of a better term, right? He used Ezel Scissors. Now, Ezel Scissors was the first unit we ever saw with the ability to undo locking. It could unlock your cards. And then Glendios was then revealed right after that, which presented the Omega Lock, which countered Ezel Scissors. Now, technically, on the down low, Ezel Scissors could still unlock Omega Lock cards, so Reverse Takuto had to do anime first and damage deny regular Takuto to stop it, but still, right? You know, like keep that hush, right? What the point is, He revealed the Omega Lock as a way to show that Glendios will thwart the anti-lock card. And now, when we're in a day and age where the main way to stop locks is to affect your rear circles rather than units specifically, like look at Bermuda Triangle cards, this says F that they're staying there and you can't associate with your rear circles. They cannot be affected until the end of your next turn. That's freaking amazing. Right, like that is just like the anime. One other thing that I dig is that this will also ping you damage, so it'll get you closer to 5. So if your opponent keeps you at 4, which generally they keep you at 4, particularly with V Series Glendios, because V Series Glendios doesn't need to have, it doesn't do anything with 4 or less damage. It's only at 5 that you get the world break, right? So this will get, so assuming they put you at 4 like they usually do, then you'll be at the world end. Congratulations, cool. But let's read on. Your opponent chooses the same number of cards from the top of their deck, put them face down in their damage zone. What the heck? Okay, so for each card in your damage zone, choose oh, right. Okay, so you're making them call from their damage zone to face down locks, and then they'll replace it with face down cards, which means that you could technically be counterblasting them a lot, Gregora style, because if they had like maybe a face up like card or two and you made them call their entire thing and then replace it with face down cards, then yeah, they technically counterblasted for it. Go figure. It's another way of being cruel and unusual to your opponent. Oh, and by the way, because this is paying you a damage, you also get a minor rescue check potentially, which is always nice for pressure. So lots of good things here. And it is reminiscent of another Glendios Strike also did do that effect to call from the damage zone and lock cards and stuff. So yeah, this isn't unprecedented at all. So I know for a fact that this is a fine effect. Act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. Choose up to 2 cards of Glendios in their card name in your bind zone and call in the rear. Then if you call 2 grade 4 cards with different names, this unit gets strike +1 and all of your front row units get. If this card's attack does not hit, put up to 3 cards from your drop zone to your deck, draw 1 card. Continues in the Vanguard circle, all of your units get boost. This right here is like your ultimate striding. You're doing like a Glendios version of ultimate stride, and then in the case of Gize, right, it was like you're calling your Seraph dragons and stuff for your big win condition. In this case, what you're doing is it's a little bit more minor. You'll be able to do like some Yasue Goma type thing. Call your freaking Glendios to rear guard your Glendios stride units as attackers. You'll get like a pretty decent drive +1, and then you'll be able to combat your deck out. Now I'm going to assume that this has like a shuffle clause right here when doing it, but still, you know, like on like a whole hit pressure to prevent a draw, this drive is also going to get you another card. You're shuffling back. All this isn't meant to kill the opponent. It's just to help you delay the game one more turn, right? This is there just to get you to your gimmick. So you get to your gimmick and then you survive one more turn and then you conduct the world end. I like the singularity. It's a very, very proactive and powerful stride that's almost guaranteed to KO your opponent the next turn, but you had to wait until turn 5 to do it. So in a very similar way to like Dragon Tree, that's fine, especially because this is premium, which is potentially even faster than standard, right? Okay, now let's move on to he has a couple of support cards here. Cool. Starvader Dark Matter Dragon. Sounds like a Starvader to me. Grade 2. Continues in the hand, deck, rear, or drop. This unit is treated as a reverse card. Ooh, do I like that? Yeah, I guess especially in the premium context, it's like there's nothing too wrong with it, right? It just means that because it's treated as a reverse card, it'll be a 15k shield, which can also already intercept by its very nature. It'll be an 18k beater regardless, because it's not like you plus on them, they become 18k by Glendios' continuous skill. So yeah, honestly, this isn't too offensive. It's just adding another reverse to your arsenal. And because Glendios can only bind different named reverse units, the idea is that you generally only want to run one of each reverse unit. So running multiples of this guy, you know, you do it at your own risk, right? So auto on the rear, when this unit is placed on a rear circle, cost counterblast 1, and put a rear guard with reverse in its card name from your drop into your soul. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. If you did not lock a card, draw a card. Your opponent searches their deck for up to 1 trigger unit and put it in the rear circle's lock card. Draw. Ooh, yeah, I don't like that. I feel like we already have Zirconium, we already have the Glendios stuff, like we already have all that stuff. Let those already good pre-existing cards determine your ability to lock your opponent's cards, right? I don't think you should punish them, specifically the trigger unit. That's even a little bit too like a-holy for me, man. And that's saying something, because Glendios is the only version of Link Joker I like to play. I don't know. I feel like it would have been better if you just kept it at this, where, you know, you use the more reverse specific cost, you put it in the soul, and then you're able to lock or draw a card, right? Like, this is already pretty powerful, especially because as opposed to like Photon, which Photon did it for free, this one does have a cost to it, but a part of the cost helps you protect technically, and it's also reverse unit, and it also looks like it has another skill. Out on the Guardian Circle, let's put on Guardian Circle. We have a Vanguard, Glendios, and its card name, Soul Blast 1. This unit gets 5k shield for each of your opponent's lock cards. If they don't have any lock cards, choose your opponent's back row rear guards and lock it. Whoa, okay, so it's only on grade 3. Yeah, okay, again, I don't know if I like, I feel like this right here might have been, cooler on a G Guardian, but when it's tacked onto an already super pertinent grade 2, it's excessive. So I probably would have preferred this as your G Guardian effect than anything. It's a really cool effect, don't get me wrong. I think the cost and your general benefit from it is perfect with your conditions, but you stacked up Dark Matter Dragon too much. Like, everything here individually would have potentially made it good enough to run on its own. So when you put all three together, I'm like, this is too much for a rear guard. Star Vader Abyssal Dragon. Okay, now this sounds a little bit like a Shadow Paladin. This is a grade 1 rear. Continuous on the rear circle. If your opponent has a lock card, this unit gets 5k power. Perfectly fine. Auto on the rear. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted if you have a Vanguard, Glendios in its card name, and your opponent's rear guard was locked this turn, specifically this turn. Counterblast 1 and put this unit into your soul. Choose a card with Star Vader in its card name from your drop, add it to your hand. Then if your opponent has 3 or more lock cards, countercharge 1. This one I like because this is like a weaker Rune Magician. Now, Rune Magician was a card which allowed you to add back a bunch of different Star Vaders to the hand. And I forget what she based it on, but she could add a bunch of different Star Vaders. I think it was based on the reverse you had in the field. Now, this one, I will say it is a little unfortunate that it's just any Star Vaders you're able to add back, but the cost of it is a little bit more severe because you're having to put in the soul. Oh, but then again, you can countercharge it back anyway. Ooh, you know what? Here's what I would say. I would say, like, this condition is good and this condition is good. But we can pump the brakes a little bit because any Star Vader can get you like almost limitless combinations because you have a lot of very high impact Star Vaders. World Line, Dark Matter, another Abyssal because it doesn't stop that. Craven Claw, Zirconium, right? You've got so many choices. I would say choose up to 2 Star Vaders and you're dropping out to the hand. So you can put it into the soul, counterblast and put it into the soul for a +1. Then if you have 3 or more locks, it's just put into the soul for a +1, which is very powerful, but it's only at the end of the battle that you boosted, so you can't immediately use those cards. I think that's fine. That's how I changed it to make it perfectly balanced. It's still very good. I'm still 2 Star Vaders of your choice for the job. They don't have to be different names for each other or different names from this. That's so good. So yeah, I feel like you should stop it at that. So your rear guards are a little bit too cracked, ironically. But I think what you did with the 2 Glendios strides and your G guard is more or less perfect, and I would be so hyped to try this in freaking premium, right? Even if it doesn't work, even if it still doesn't make Glendios the shiznit, I think it would be really fun, especially because this card, having you go up to like turn 5 in order to make it work, you actually do feel maniacal. Like, you took your time and you just waited out your opponent. You were pulling the strings the entire time for the ultimate victory, right? The world endo. So yeah, overall I would probably give these guys about an 8.5. These 2 cards kind of hurt it for me a bit, but these 3 cards more or less are just 10 out of 10. So really well done, mate. Fantastic. Alrighty, so as I said before, we're going to next time around get back to the homie own end here, so I'll leave him here for now. But that's where I'm dropping off for the time being. So let me know what you guys liked the best. I have a few different ideas, but I think I'm going to go for the okay palpitations dragonic stuff. I'll call it the high school DD ride line. I think the high school DD ride line is the best one. It had the best score for me. I was really into it. It felt fun to read, which are my favorite cards, are the ones that I love to just read. Like, my eyeballs feel pleasure in a weird way from observing it, right? From gazing upon it. It's so, let me stop being weird, right? So let me know what cards you guys like the best, and if you have like any suggestions, because because I'm sure these folks are going to be watching my YouTube video, so if you have any suggestions, then they're probably going to mosey on over to the comments and see that, and we'll all help each other out. That aside, if you haven't caught up already, then be sure to catch up on this season. We're well into it, and it seems we're this time we are definitely nearing our end, so this would be a great time to catch up before the grand finale here. And if you have caught up, well, don't despair, because we've got plenty of other Vanguard content to go around. Discussions, fight nights, anime reactions, the whole shebang. So check those out. And if you like what you see, consider leaving a subscribe and turn on the notification bell for next time I upload a video. And with that said, take care, God bless.